Hello and welcome to this episode of the International Daily Roundup by People's Dispatch. For our first story, we're speaking about the US, which has conducted air raids on the bases of the group Kata'ib Hizbollah in Iraq and Syria on Sunday. To talk more about the implications of these developments, and we have with us Prashant. Thank you, Prashant, for joining us. The first very important question is that what is this group and why was it attacked?
So first of all, the Kata'ib Hizbollah group has no connection to the Hezbollah of Lebanon. The Kata'ib Hizbollah is an Iraqi group. It has links to Iran. It's largely a Shia group, and it's part of what is called the Popular Mobilization Units. Now, the Popular Mobilization Units were formed and were trained by Iranian agents at the height of the fight against ISIS. So despite all those US claims about how it was the US which was fighting the ISIS, the bulk was actually, of the fighting was actually done by forces like these. And once the major victories were won against this organization, the ISIS, many of these units came under the direct control of the Iraqi Defense Ministry. So while they're not per se, they're not part of the Iraqi army or anything, but they're basically under government regulation and control. So this is the group which has been attacked by the US on Sunday. So there were 5 attacks, 3 in Iraq and 2 in Syria. And this happened after the US claimed that the group was responsible for an attack on Friday on a base which killed one US contractor, mercenary, and injured a couple of other soldiers. So their claim was that Kata'ib Hizbollah was responsible for this. There was no real investigation done. It is not clear if ISIS was responsible or it was a small local incident. Nothing was clear about this. They automatically concluded that, and they didn't inform the world about why they thought it was so. So with the usual impunity, they just attacked this base, and nearly 35 people have been killed, including senior commanders. So that is the current situation right now.
And what do we see in terms of the implications? Because is there a possibility of the tensions escalating, and what kind of political reaction has come out of the country?
Right. So first of all, the Prime Minister of Iraq, he's an interim Prime Minister right now, Adel Abdul Mahdi, he strongly condemned this. And this happens at a very complicated time in Iraq because massive protests have been going on for weeks against the political system. There are some sections which are mounting a very strong anti-Iran campaign at this point of time. So the US attacks also need to be sort of seen in this kind of context. But nonetheless, the political establishment has soundly condemned this attack. And the other key aspect is that this could also lead to calls for withdrawal of US forces based in Iraq, because it is likely that many sections will see this as an attack on Iraqi sovereignty. Clearly, the Iraqi government was not consulted about these attacks at all. And so this raises questions about the future of US troops in Iraq itself, whether they'll be able to continue and what the kind of protests that will come up against them. And the other aspect is that it also completely demolishes US claims about how it is the main fighter against the ISIS. So we see an organization which is still involved in the war against ISIS being targeted like this over a claim which has not been proven, for which the evidence has not been provided to the outside world.
Thank you for those insights, Prashant. So clearly, we've discussed how this development could lead to the escalation of tensions in the future with the US and Iraq, and we'll keep a very close eye on that. Moving on to Sudan now, where the transitional government has signed an agreement with 4 armed rebel groups on Saturday, which was the 28th of December, which is another major step forward towards reaching a peace agreement in Darfur. The region is lying in the west of the country and has been witnessing a bloody civil war since 2003. The Sudanese government and various armed factions under the banner of the Sudanese Revolutionary Front, which is the SRF, have been holding discussions in the South Sudanese capital of Juba. The agreement lists the issues which are to be discussed during the negotiation process. These include the nature of the administration during the transitional period, the power sharing arrangements at state and regional levels, and the sharing of natural resource wealth. Land ownership, the return of the internally displaced people and refugees, and justice for the victims of violence are also yet to be resolved. The fighting in Darfur began in 2003 when rebel groups representing the ethnic minorities in the region took up arms against the state. The Sudanese government, under the rule of the ousted President Omar al-Bashir, responded by mass killings, rapes, and burning of the entire villages. It is estimated that at least 300,000 people were killed and over 2.5 million people have been displaced as the conflict unfolded. We'll keep an eye on this story as well. And that's all that we have for you today on this episode of the International Roundup. To follow our news updates, our videos, and many more, please log on to our website www.peoplesdispatch.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you for watching.
Que cantar, que vamos a triunfar, avanza ya.